Good morning, everyone. This is Miss Hickey, your Senior Academy English teacher, and I am going to walk us through a morning meeting around our yearbook. Yearbooks, you might say. Why is that so important? Or maybe you've been at the school long enough that you remember Denton Wilkinson screaming, "Buy a yearbook!" Well, I'm here to give you some information on why this yearbook is so important and what you can do to help us, because we do need your help, especially with how things have shifted recently. As you'll see, in order to capture our story this year, you are going to play a very vital role. As your dorky English teacher and fellow history major as well, I do really think a lot about yearbooks and the fact that it is a hard book that chronicles our year. It is a piece of history, and it does stand the test of time. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So here is our contents, our agenda, so to say. I'm going to discuss a little bit about our yearbook and the history behind yearbooks, which is actually very fascinating. I mean that, genuinely. The how, what you're going to do. I'm going to go over this wonderful app called Image Share and walk you through how to download it and how it's going to be so helpful for us and for capturing your story and your history this year. And then finally, a quick follow-up to say thank you and where you can reach us. Okay, hold your horses here. That was a weird phrase. But did you know that yearbooks go back to the 1600s? Yeah, the 1600s. This is not something that oh, the baby boomers started it and now it's this thing, or this was just pre-World War I or World War II and it's a 20th century invention but feels like it's been around forever. No, it has been around since the 1600s, and actually the first yearbook ever created in America comes from our first public school, which is Boston Latin School, this is an old picture here. Fun fact, my sister lives right near there. And their founding class of 1635 created a yearbook. And early yearbooks were scrapbooks, essentially, that people would put together collecting all their mementos from an entire year. That would include signatures. So yearbook signings actually started almost 400 years ago when you think about it. 400, it's wild. Dried flowers, news articles, hair clippings. So dried flowers, okay, I get. News articles, signings, hair clippings. Actually, fun fact, very common popular thing of the past to do is to save people's locks of hair. This one I found, this is Abraham Lincoln's hair. There you have it. It's a bit odd to come across that if you ever do archival research. If you're interested, might be an interesting research rabbit hole to go down. I digress. But they captured what was happening throughout the year. So yearbooks go way, way back. And if you think about it, capturing our story and our year and finding a way to remember and hold on to those memories is part of our humanity. It's part of what we do. It's a record, right? So here's another first college yearbook that ever was made. Was Yale University created their first yearbook in 1806. And they had profiles of each person, much like we do, but probably more expanded. This is a much older one, or a more recent one from Yale from the 1890s, still pretty old. But photography wasn't even invented yet, but they still did silhouettes, those drawings of those dark silhouettes of people with their names under it, to capture each member in the class, and that was really common. So it's a long-standing tradition, and I'm not going to read all of this, but essentially signatures were a defining characteristic from the start. Eventually photography became central to the entire experience, and then eventually those signatures turned into long written notes and letters and memories, and it wasn't until actually the 1960s and 70s that some of those signatures just became only signatures, or like the "Have a Great Summer," things like that. Which is just interesting to look at the evolution, but it's very much a foundational element to capturing our whole year and remembering what has happened and celebrating what's happened as well. It's our story of the year, and it changes all the time. So here's just a little bit of our history in our yearbook. We started off with a yearbook elective in 2016-2017 when the class of 2020 was just the only freshman, the only grade. Ms. Corey led this group with our founding members in 2020 and put together this yearbook for us, followed by their sophomore year when we had both 2021 and 2022. In the yearbook elective with Ms. Berg, they created from the ground up and started working with theme, not just putting together a book, of memories, but working within a theme. And then finally, when I joined with everyone in 2017, 2018, no, 2018, 2019, there's my memory there, we officially named our book. So the book is actually called Horizons, and then every year we have a new theme. So on the spine, you'll notice that there's always the name of the book. And that was a really amazing thing to establish. And as you can tell here, we took our name and made it our theme and called the theme that year Approaching Our Horizons, and then developed our cover and our content and our photos and took that theme to carry throughout the entire book. And we told our story of the year through the lens of moving towards those horizons. And finally, this past year, we created this yearbook, which many of you have. Some of you might not yet, and you can still get one. But it's called Are We There Yet? Which really captured, I think, how 2020 was feeling with getting through the rest of high school, but really did apply in very creative ways in terms of how the stories were written to every single grade level and where they were in their journey of high school. And we took a much more sort of retro design element towards that and carried it through the color schemes and how we told the stories and the perspectives from which we took our photographs. So it's a really involved endeavor to create this book, and we think a lot about how we can tell the story of our year in a unique way that captures your attention and also chronicles each person's story. So this year, we have determined our theme, but that's one of the exciting parts you'll find out later in the spring. But obviously this year is unlike most years. So you're probably wondering, like, why am I getting this history lesson? What's in it for me? Truthfully, the yearbook tells our story, which includes you. And these are historical texts that are chronicling your experiences. And one of our goals is to actually make sure we're not just capturing the people who are in the sports or in the clubs all the time, or happen to be around the friends who have the cameras who take the pictures, or happen to be in my class and get their picture taken. That's not okay. We all have a story to tell. And we really want to make sure that this story, especially the story of this year and how we're starting, is being told as best as possible. And we have so many opportunities to break away from set ways of telling a story in a yearbook. So that's why I'm giving you this background, to show you why they're so important and also show you what we're going to do this year. So last year we captured the usual events and then also put in a spread about COVID-19 to start capturing that. And books are actually still available, and we will have a belated yearbook signing later this year once we figure out a hybrid or in-person school once we're back, whenever that may be. And we're going to use a new form to tell this year's story. So we need you. And part of this is through photographs or photography. It's the primary way we tell our story. We do write the blurbs, and that's called copy. We write that. But a lot of it is through the photos. And so how we're going to get photos from you is through an app called Image Share. And you can download that on your Android or iPhone or whatever cell phone you have. And you can send us your pictures. So we want pictures of you on your own at home, with your family. If you're doing something really monumental that means a lot to you. If you are out at a park with your friends hanging out, we want those we want those photos. We want you at cross-country meets or once we start up sports again, if and when basketball happens. We want your photos from other things you're doing. Maybe you get to go up to the mountains and be up there over the weekend or go camping. We would love those photos. Maybe you actually get to take a trip somewhere in these wild times and spend an extended amount of time with grandparents, but still go to school from there. Like, that's incredible. That's something we don't do. We want those photos. We want to capture the virtual life, the at-home life, the hybrid in between, and then also our in-person. So here's how you're going to do that. Go ahead and download Balfour Image Share, and you can come back to this video anytime. It's an app. Just search it right here in Google Classroom. Oh my gosh. In your app store. You're going to create your own account, so you can create your own username and password. The way it's going to connect to our book is this project code. This is like the most important. This is like your password in. So it's going to ask for our project code at DSST Byers High School, and that's 121876. So you can come back to this video. So advisors, if you could drop this video in the chat, I'd really appreciate it. You can come back, get this code, And then once you've signed up, you're in. And you can choose from your own photo gallery on your phone and upload photos, which goes to a folder that I have access to. I go through all the uploaded photos to double check that they are appropriate for school, and they do. They have to be appropriate. Inappropriate photo submissions will be, sent to the deans. But in the past, we've used this and people have been really great about it. I go through, I look through the photos, double check them, and then I move them to a folder so that all of our staff can see them and put them into our yearbook. So that's how that works. And we hope you please send those photos. It is a foundation of equity. We need to tell everyone's story. We need to index everybody. So please send us your photos. It's also a piece of history. This is how we can remember 2020 and 2021. And honestly, end of the day, the quality is everyone to be in the book, and not just in the yearbooky ways. That's going to create a great book and a great chronicle of our story. These are just some photos I had, proving the point that you don't just want me putting photos in, because apparently I don't take photos as often. I should do that, but these are all the class of 2020 from their freshman year. That's not useful. Certainly not equitable. So please send us your photos, help us out, and be in touch. If you have any questions, you can contact me or any of our editors who are all seniors. So that's Kate Osborne, Finn Staples, Kim Rescone, Emma Graham, and Mathis Tui. Thanks, everyone.